Well, good day, folks. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Oneegs Show. We have our regular guest here who's been here with us a few times now, the founder of Activation Products, Mr. Ian Clarke. How are you, Ian?
Really good, Dave. There's been a lot going on, a lot of exciting times, and things get better every single day, regardless of what's
Yeah,
happening up there. Right?
yeah, I love that. I love that philosophy and that approach to life because I think we're all learning that there's a lot of silver linings right now, despite all the chaos that's going on. And I think really it is a matter of choosing to focus on those silver linings and just turn them into this whole beautiful awakening of humanity. And I think one thing that I'm very interested in, and why I was so interested to talk to you today, is taking our health to the next level. I'm a big believer that being radically healthy and radically vibrant in our well-being is probably the most powerful form of activism that there is right now. That you take full accountability for your health and wellness, and being strong and well in this climate is a very powerful thing to do. Ian, today we're going to be talking about iodine, and it's something that I know nothing about, really. I would literally say nothing. I know nothing about iodine other than if you take too much of it, it can be bad for you. But I'm also hearing from a lot of people out there in the health and wellness space that it can be truly a game-changing supplement. Would you call it a supplement? I'm not too sure. But Ian, I'm really looking forward to this. So tell us a bit, mate. And for those of our listeners out there who don't know, you just give us a little snapshot of yourself and Activation Products, and then let's get into the iodine. Sorry. Over to you, Ian.
That's cool. So I have spent the last 20 years on a journey finding out the truth about what's actually slowing life down and ending life.
Mhm.
And at the same time as I found those things out, I found out the things that remove that problem. So when people get older, they should be getting stronger, faster, brighter, more healthy, living longer, because the longer you're alive, the more knowledge you should have and the more things you have done that are the right things. But because we're completely backwards and upside down, I stood back and looked at the mainstream population statistics, which is everyone who listens to what the news tells them, takes what the doctor says to do, eats all the branded products. Basically, they're media slaves and they just do what they're told. And they live to an average of 77 years. In spite of all that, they're propped up and they live about 77 years. And then you have people who are health conscious. You know, they meditate, they exercise, they eat clean, they're mindful, they treat their people around them with respect and dignity. You know, they don't believe the news, they don't listen to the garbage, they all these things that they are quite different. So they have a much higher quality of life, but the average age is only 81 to 82 at the most, average. Some live to 100, but even in the mainstream, some live to 100. So I knew that there was something majorly wrong and that these huge pieces of the puzzle had been missing for a long time in both sides of the equation. And what are those puzzles? What are those pieces? What are the major pieces that are causing death on time? And so fortunately, I found out what those things are. We can't talk about them all tonight, but one of the major things is a missing mineral that is called iodine. And everybody knows that iodine goes on cuts and keeps things sterile. And iodine in Lugol solution has, skull and crossbones and is full of all kinds of stuff, including iodine. And if you take too much, it will kill you, literally. And that iodine is just not known, and it's not taught in schools. No one's educated on iodine. So my education to iodine came through a gentleman who had been in the industry for much of his adult life. And he had gone, help with chicken houses and different other things and learned. And then he ended up, trying to make a bunch of money off of iodine and lost a bunch of money on it and sort of made some not so great friends over that. But nonetheless, the information about the pure form of iodine was essential. And I knew that that was a major key, because as soon as I started to consume it, within a couple of weeks, I noticed a significant uptake in my brain power. I also noticed a different feel energetically in my body. And I started to go deeper into it. I found out that iodine truly is a micronutrient. So you could call it a supplement, but it's a micronutrient your body needs. You do not get enough of it from the food you eat. And you'd have to go to the ocean and eat tons of cod and haddock and things like that to be able to get enough from the ocean, but that's only in the form of iodide. That's not in the form of iodine. Now, iodide goes into your body and your thyroid uses it as raw material to convert to T3 and T4 iodine hormones. But when you put it into your system, through your digestive system, in its pure iodine form, which we now found out how to make the stuff, those I2 molecular iodine molecules fuel you. They fuel your body. They go after things that shouldn't be in your body, like heavy metals and fungus, yeast overgrowth, things that are problematic to your system, but they give you energy. They give you libido. They give you brain power. It gives you a whole bunch of stuff because it's fuel. It's just a fuel, and you need it every single day. But people are not told. So you can't know until you yourself consume it and you go, oh, that's what that is. You know, because we could talk to over blue in the face, but until you yourself actually experience it, you can't know. Now, one of the cool things about iodine is that it protects your body from all the radiation. And there are receptor sites that get plugged up, so you can't get the iodine into them, because like bromides and fluorides and things like that they put in the water systems, it just messes you up, so you can't get the stuff you need. But with the iodine, when it's pure iodine, it goes in and cleans up the receptor sites, makes them available. You realize, hey, don't drink the municipal water. Got all kinds of chloramines and garbage in it. Don't eat the bread from mainstream. It's got bromides in it. They used to put iodide in bread. Now they put bromide. It's a whole, people can call it a conspiracy.
What is bromide? Sorry, Ian?
Oh, this is just another element that your body doesn't want, because it goes and plugs up the receptor sites for your iodine.
Interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, the long story short is this. If you take iodine on a daily basis, you're protecting your cellular matrix. You're opening up your communication. There's not a single circuit board on Earth that does not require iodine. It requires iodine in the circuit board to communicate. It's a massively important element. It's important inside your body.
I never knew that.
Yep. Even tires, you can't make a tire without iodine.
So
they mine
iodine. That this computer I'm sitting on right now, the circuit board in there, for it to work, has iodine in there.
Mm-hmm.
And where is it actually? My first question is, where is it sourced from? And my second question, you know how they say oils ain't oils. There's all differences between all different oils, obviously. Is it the same with iodine? Are there different qualities, or is it basically just the same thing? Tell us more.
Very different. They're very different.
Okay.
So what we found out is there's like detoxified iodine, there's etomidine, there's all these fancy iodines. There's Lugol solution. There's all these different people out there promoting their iodine product, but none of them are pure I2 molecular iodine molecules. You don't need a lot of iodine. You need a high volume of a low dose. So when you have it in the right form, which is a Dalton molecule, that's a gas molecule. We found out how to infuse gas molecules into medical grade pure water. That becomes the ultimate delivery system. You cannot harm yourself with it. You can even drink a whole bottle and not die from it, no problem. You don't need the skull and crossbones on this bottle, because of the form it's in is massive volume, but low dose. So when you put it into your system, it carpet bombs everything that's not supposed to be there. Every cell in your body needs iodine to communicate and function. So you're supplementing your body with it. And then it goes through your bloodstream, because iodine converts to iodide when it reacts with heavy metals or fungus or yeast overgrowth or bacteria or microbes. And iodine is known to deal with microbial problems very quickly. It then goes into your bloodstream as iodide, and your thyroid picks it up. Your thyroid uses iodide to convert to the T3, T4 iodine hormones. It sounds like a complicated little dance, and it really isn't. But it just, until you're familiar with the lingo. But really, the bottom line is that it feeds your immune system, which I call your detox system, feeds your brain power. They equate iodide through the thyroid with brain IQ. So you tap deeper into your brain power. Now, we're told right from little kids, did you know that you're only using 10% of your brain? Did you know that? That is the biggest stupidest lie on earth. That is not true.
I always
If you,
thought that.
that's right. And we always say that because we were taught that. And when we say that, our brain listens and goes, oh, I guess I'm running at 10%. Dummy. You know, you want me to be a dummy? I'll be a dummy. You got 100% use of your brain. And when you have elemental stuff that is missing, you can't access the usage of your brain. You want your intelligence to go through the roof, your ability to uptake info, store info, recall info, get iodine happening. You know, get the sea salts going in too. There's another fuel.
Well, sea salts are another conductor, right? So I'm using this. I'm trialing out this new water ionizer from an addict, and it has to take this electrolysis fluid. And I was like, oh, I don't know about this electrolysis fluid. You know, is it a chemical? No, it's actually just salt water. It's actually just salty water to make this whole thing actually be able to do the electrolysis process. And so what you're saying, Ian, is that, you know, even combining these two things, like something like iodine with some good sea salt and so on, is going to help the conductivity throughout the system, in particular the brain.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's a communication device. You're a walking battery. Batteries cannot operate without minerals, and you have to have a steady flow. But that's a whole nother subject. That's all about having clean blood, new, fresh, clean blood every day. That's a whole different interview. Iodine goes hand in hand with that elemental stuff. It is see, there's no iodine in sea salt. You know, we have trace, we've got Oceans Alive. We're bringing out an unrefined sea salt very soon because we know that you have to have an abundance of this stuff. And like I said, though, that's a whole nother rabbit hole, right, that we got to go down later. But today, the focal point is the radiation problem. So all this garbage technology, this is total trash. This is the iPhone 14 Pro Max. I have two of them. I got a Pro and a Pro Max. Why? Because I need one for the US because Canada has a crappy cell plan. And I got a Canadian one for when I'm up here because the bandwidth on this one doesn't work good when it's in Canada. Anyway, these are garbage. This is such low tech, it's ridiculous. But we're told this is the latest, greatest, highest tech. No, it's not. It's garbage. And it's radiating constantly radio waves, which are substantial in the nano realm, communicating electronically with towers that are around us using crystals inside here, the silica crystals, right? And so Silicon Valley, silica, communication, it's all confusing our bodies because I'm in a Wi-Fi environment. I've got these two mobile phones, which are on airplane mode at this point. But I have my computer hardwired in, but my next door neighbor has Wi-Fi on both sides and across the street, and I can see all their signals. Cool. There's cell towers everywhere. There's FM radio stations everywhere. Everything is smart technology in the last 15 years, and we are literally bathing in a sea of radiation.
All day.
You don't have to wait for the nuclear war. We got a major radiation problem. The number one thing that fixes it is iodine, because that shields you. The number two thing is the sea salt, because it restores the communication and the electrical systems and the biophoton systems in your body. So iodine is hand in glove with the sea salts, which we have with the Oceans Alive and the Trace. At any rate, you put these things together, but the first thing that everybody should do is make sure that they've got the right amount of iodine as a fuel in their body every single day. That brings your intelligence levels have to be maxed out. You need access to 100% of your brain. You've got use of it. You just don't have access yet. So, you know, and they tell you, they know how to propagandize you, program you. You only have 10% use of your brain. Hypnotic. 10%, remember, you little slave? Yeah, right? Okay.
So
no. I got 10x on that one.
You know, I've noticed, Ian, for myself. Look, I'm going to be 49 this year, right? A couple of months.
Yeah.
I have noticed really substantial brain fog increase over the last couple of years, but I've also noticed a lot of memory stuff, poor memory recall, and I guess a bit of an inability to remember what I was doing a few days ago, unless I get something to jog my memory. The actual ability to go back and recall specific events. Like today is Tuesday. If someone asks me what I did on Saturday, it's difficult. If I go through say for instance, I went through my SMS, my text messages, I'm going to remember what was going on. But I find it a lot more difficult with memory these days, and I've sort of put it down to, oh yeah, I'm getting a bit older, whatever. But yeah, so tell us more about that. What would you say to that? You know, a case like that, because I'm sure a lot of people would relate to that.
Oh yeah, well, that is the fact. The older you get, the worse you are. The weaker you get, the closer to disease, the closer to death. The dumber we get, the more brain fog, the poorer memory, and so on. That's the reality in the world we live in. But that reality is false, because once you know what's causing the problem and how to fix the problem, then you get smarter, faster, stronger. You get way healthier. You stop the aging process literally until you can't even tell you're aging anymore. You bring your body back to about a 35-year-old. You know, that's a good age to go to. If you can get it back to 25, you got quite a bit of work to get back to a 25-year-old. It's not more expensive. It's just more effort. Okay, you got to have more courage. And then you maintain that. If you can maintain your age between a 25 and 35-year-old biologically, your body just continues to live indefinitely. And I'm not talking about living, 1,000 years or something. I'm talking about living a very, very, very long time. Where the average age is 81, no, that's ridiculous. You should 3x that. Because the only reason it's 81 for health conscious people like us is because we didn't know. We were missing pieces of the puzzle, major pieces of the puzzle. One of the big pieces is iodine. The other big piece is unrefined sea salt. That's why the focus right now at Activation is to get the best possible source at the best possible price to be able to get it to people affordably. Because I personally believe that health should be free. That means that once you know where to put your money, investing in yourself and trusted with a company, that all these other expenses that you would otherwise have to pay because you don't know the other reasons, that goes away completely. Then you have much greater percentage of your disposable income to spend, which is a very small amount of money per day, to maintain a very high level of health. Most of it's knowledge. So what you've been imparting to people is knowledge. What I impart is knowledge. You've got your category that you're flooding people with knowledge about. I've got my category. We all play different roles, and we bring our knowledge together, and that adds up to a beautiful situation where we would then fly above the garbage. So what's the number one thing that's killing you? Everybody says, well, GMO foods, the contaminated water supplies, the potential for war, disease, people get old and die. No, it's what you're breathing. What you breathe is 11,000 liters a day of air. And in that air is quadrillions of nanoparticles that are harmful to your body and plug you up. That's what's going on. So if you continue to do that and you don't deal with it, you just continue to let that accumulate, you die right on time. And if you live even longer than normal average age, you'll get Alzheimer's and dementia or prostate cancer or those things that are inevitable, they say, if you live long enough.
Yeah,
but that's only if you don't know how to that's only if you don't know how to get rid of the garbage you're accumulating. So you pump 2,000 gallons of blood per day through 6,000 miles of capillaries, veins, arteries. And all of that blood is going to every cell to feed the oxygen, to feed the nutrients, and to extract the waste materials and the stuff you don't want. But the blood continuously gets contaminated. And the older you get, the more contaminated it becomes, until you find out how to support your body with the raw materials it needs to produce clean blood and to keep the blood even cleaner all the time. So if you take a 20-year-old has 100% kidney function, in 40 short years at 60, they got 35% kidney function. Breathing particulate matter, rubber dust, brake dust, cremated bodies, industrial waste. There's 1,000 things on the list that you breathe. You can't see it. It's floating, suspended. It's in the nano realm. It's real. In the United States, there's the only country I know the number. United States, there's 10 billion pounds of rubber dust from tires released into the atmosphere every year, every 12 months. So the last 10 years, that's 120 billion pounds based upon the number of tires they sell every year, the thickness of the tread, the thickness of the tread, the width of the tread, the size of it on every truck, 18 on every wheel, on every truck, right? Spinning at 70 miles an hour, releasing nanoparticulates a mile and a half above the highway.
Wow.
Iodine, right. And then brake dust.
I'm looking at my truck now, Ian. I need new tires, and I've got a 4x4 and big, thick, heavy, chunky tires. And I remember it wasn't so long ago that the tread was like this deep, and you had those grooves for they're like a mud tire, right? And
Right.
now it's flat, and that would be several kilos at least of tire that has been evaporated. And we never think about that, but you're saying that it ends up a nanoparticulate shot up into the sky, and we're breathing 11,000 liters of this stuff a day. It's wild.
Yep, it is wild. And it's like rubber, cotton, epoxy, resins, chemicals, and metals. That's what tires are made of. And we're breathing it. What about cremating the bodies? They cremate 80% of the bodies. There's 164,000 people dying every day. That's gross.
That's a pretty gross thing to think about, that we're inhaling the breakdown, the ashes of the deceased. Wow.
Well, the ashes don't make it out of the stack, because you can see them. They make sure they get a filter on. No, they can't filter nanoparticles. The body has accumulated enough till it died, and then they off gas it to us in the air. Thank you very much.
Charming.
It's so stupid, man. It's like the dumbest thing. And then they talk to us about climate change, CO2 emissions, these idiots. Are you joking? What about the rubber dust, guys? You think battery powered cars are going to save us? Yeah, not. That is the dumbest thing we've ever heard. The technology is so brutally low end. Back in the day, they had levitation, and understanding of levitation using magnetic forces. There was no friction to go in a vehicle. You don't need tires when you have a levitated magnetic vehicle. Obviously, they had levitation. How did they build the pyramids?
Right.
You have to levitate. You have to use magnetic energy to move massively heavy stuff. What are they're trying to kid us? Like, we don't think critically.
There's a whole other topic we can go down there, as far as the lost form of civilization that they've been hiding from us, and all the technology that they've been keeping dark. But I'm particularly interested in knowing more about this ability to address the EMF smog that we're sitting in. I fell asleep last night on the couch. I was right next to the modem. I keep the modem, in a specific location. I have some devices that allegedly, minimize some of the emissions and so on. But I woke up and I was like, oh damn, I fell asleep next to this thing that's emitting all this Wi-Fi smog. Tell us more about how we can negate some of this stuff, because like this thing, when we go out, it sits in our pocket. It sits in my pocket. Right. If I'm going to, I try and keep it in the back pocket, but I've kind of got it's a trade-off. Am I going to fry my nuts, or am I going to fry my kidneys? What's it going to be? Like, it's a trade-off. Sometimes I'll put it in the Faraday bag if I'm so inclined, but that's pretty rare. Life goes on, and we don't see it, so we don't necessarily know about it. We don't see the emissions. But what we are starting to realize is that things like, say, for instance, sperm count and testosterone in men is just plummeting. Apparently, the average 30-year-old now has the testosterone and the sperm count of a 80-year-old only 30-40 years ago. These sorts of things. I'd love to know more about how the iodine is negating this radiation, because it's a huge one, and especially for women as well. Like we're hearing now, I can't remember the name of the doctor, but he was talking about how this Wi-Fi damages the eggs inside of women. They're very, very, very damaging to the eggs and the potential to give life. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, Ian? Because I think anyone listening to this is a concern that we all face. Everywhere we go, particularly here in the cities, there's just more towers everywhere. There's more panels everywhere, and everywhere we go, we pick up dozens and dozens of Wi-Fi signals. Please elaborate a little bit more on that.
Right. So these are true particles. So radio frequency has to send a particle in electronic form to a tower and back and forth. It's invisible. You can't see it with the naked eye. You can't see it with a microscope. You'd have to look at a Dalton scope to be able to see them. But they are true particles and radio frequency. So you talk about EMF, electromagnetic frequency pollution. That's one thing. That's coming from the grid around you, the electrical grid. And then you have the radio frequency. So radiation is affecting you. And that's what people get radiation poisoning from, the Chernobyl thing and all that stuff. You couldn't see it in the air. You could get a meter and measure it, but you get affected physically. How could it be affecting you physically if it wasn't a particle? Like a microwave oven will cook you. It's invisible. You can't see it, but it's cooking you. It's causing, friction, vibration. So what you have to do is have an internal shield. There's all these devices they claim you put it on your phone, it protects you. And, you got these little symbolic things that are fun and that's supposed to keep it, whatever. I have,
I have a few sitting around me here. I'm trying to find the other one. I've got no way. Oh yeah, this thing. This is I don't know if you've seen these before. This is what's called a stellar dome, which is apparently going to it's from a company called organeffects.com. Had good reviews. I have no way of measuring it. It's just it gives me a little bit of peace of mind that perhaps I'm not frying all my little swimmers,
That's right. And Oregon is real. And Wilhelm Reich had real true information about Oregon energy. And it was a wonderful thing. It's real. Whether that is the real effective one, it's hard to measure. Like you say, it just gives you peace of mind, a little bit of placebo effect, and you hope that it works. But you need to know that internally you, the body, no matter where you are, no matter what protection you don't have or have on your phones, you need to be protecting from the inside out. So that's the beauty of this perfect iodine, because it's Dalton molecules by the quadrillions of these. You drink it through water, you can put it into your skin. It goes and it just carpet bombs all the crap that is bothering your system communication wise. It also goes after the heavy metals and the fungal things. That universe inside your body is so vast. You need these tiny, tiny particles to go after it all. And they just go after it and fix it all up, and it does a wonderful job. So it's a cleansing thing as well as a nourishing thing, because it gives you energy and it gives you better communication within your system. When you lose communication between your central nervous system and your organs, you can't even tell you have a bad liver, and the brain doesn't even know to send the troops. So that's why people deteriorate. Look at people getting old. They get old for a reason. It's not just because they're aging. Their body is falling apart because they're getting hit continuously 24/7 by breathing and by exposure to all this new garbage technology. We use it. I appreciate the fact that I can see my family on the phone when I talk to them. I like that, and see my friends. That's cool. But there's a price attached to it. Did we really have to do that? No. Isn't it better meeting face to face? Yes. But Zoom, we're on Zoom right now. We got electronics all around us. I'm bathing in EMF and RF right now.
Absolutely. It's everywhere. And you touched on something there as well, which I'd love you to elaborate on a little bit. A lot of people have become very concerned about parasites and also bacteria overgrowth and so on. Now, you mentioned yeast. This is something I've been looking into for quite a while, because I get quite a bit of brain fog as well after eating. Have some symptoms of small bacterial intestinal, I think it's called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. Have some symptoms of that. I've been talking to a gut health specialist as well. How does the iodine interact with something like that? We know candida is a huge thing. Yeast overgrowth is a huge issue. Modern diets contribute to that. We also know that these things are naturally occurring in the gut as well, but they get out of balance. How can something like iodine potentially help with something like SIBO, the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, yeast infections, candida, and so on?
Now, what you do with that is you take shots of it, like a straight shot.
Okay.
It goes in, gets into your system, and it carpet bombs all that crap. Yeast overgrowth, it just loves to get rid of that garbage. And when you get rid of the yeast overgrowth, it allows the friendly bacteria, the good microbiome, to flourish, because the bad microbes, they go against the healthy microbiome. So when you take the load off of them, they can flourish. And then SIBO, H. pylori, candida, Crohn's, diverticulitis, leaky gut, IBS, all that stuff goes away. Not because the iodine cured it, but because the body uses that elemental stuff to be able to direct it to where it's got to go. The body knows where the problems are. And the more you clear the problems, the more communication, the more sensitive your body becomes to deal with that stuff. It needs the artillery. Like if you're going to renovate a house, you got to have good workers, skilled. You got to have really good raw material. You got to have excellent blueprints. You got to have a designer, right? And all those together, if you're missing any one of those, you're not going to have a good result. And so the body's the same. The body's always rehabilitating itself and rejuvenating itself, but it gets further and further behind the more you're missing these elements. So the longer you live, the more you breathe this crap, the bigger the load, the less you know about the elemental stuff you need to really have in your body as a must-have every day, the further your body gets behind the 8 ball. So all I did was just observe physical evidence. You know, am I improving? Is my life better today than it was yesterday? Do I have a higher quality of life and better health? Good, I'm on the right track. If I'm going south as I'm getting older and I'm not as good as I was 10 years ago, and much better than I was 10 years ago, then I'm not on the right track. So I've got to, everything's measurable. You know, I just turned 65 5 days ago. I feel far better than I did when I was 25. And I'm not a 25-year-old. I look like I'm 65. That doesn't matter because you have an age look, you know, for the age. But my skin is getting healthier, plumper. I get a better glow. I have more energy than I did when I was in my 20s. My body can recharge way faster, like during the day, because I put out so much energy all day and I'm creating content and doing research. And, you know, I'm the CEO of a company that manufactures product that I got to hear all the different top things that are going on in the company. I'm not the day-to-day CEO, but I'm aware of what's going on day to day, and I need to recharge. So now I can just go. I hit a 30-minute nap. I am good for 8 hours of solid energy after that. You know, so my body's ability to recover fast is amazing. So your recovery is, you know, you got to be able to recover quick. You got to be able to expend the energy. No, everybody kids like, where do you get the energy? Well, I get the energy from the fuel that I'm putting in my system, and it's clean fuel. And all the garbage that I'm breathing, I'm able to get rid of. I've gotten rid of the mass accumulation that I built for 64 years. I started this at 64 years old, where I really learned how to get the clean blood built. Within 4 months, I went through such a roller coaster ride of good things, right? Elimination of the bowels and all the stuff, like way more clarity, way more better body communication, way more energy. And then I really started to get sailing at that point. Everybody's got to go through it. You know, my job is this. I was given like $85 million to be able to spend on learning, you know, developing this little, you know, manufacturing facility we have to be able to produce the most important stuff. All that money was put into education, learning, so that I could share it with you and your audience and people around the world. That's my job. You know, they don't have time to go 20 years of deep diving into all this stuff and eliminate all the crap that doesn't work. That was my job. Now I'm here to share it with people. This was given to me. I didn't go and earn 85 million. People put $85 million in our trust to invest it for them one at a time by buying products that had a little bit of profit margin that we could then use that profit to do further research. We didn't take the money. We put the money back in continuously every single month to this day. And that's why I ended up learning all this stuff. And because I knew we were missing, I didn't know. I knew that everyone in the health space didn't know, because they're all dying on time, according to stupid statistics. Where's the value in that? Every 10 years you're older, you're exponentially more valuable because you got more experience, more wisdom, more know-how. You're a better person because you're on the track of becoming better. People who are dark and nasty, they just become darker and nastier. That's their problem. We don't live in that world. Right. So we're here to mitigate, and we got to navigate around these stinking people who are trying to genocide everybody, because we have to stay alive. That's our job. And we got to have an extremely good quality of life. You don't have to be rich. You got to have resources, right? And good resources, a continuous flow of resources. I don't need 1 billion gallons of gas, right? I need 16 gallons of gas in my tank to go where I got to go. And when it's 16 gallons, I need another 16 gallons. What do I need 1 billion gallon tank for, to say I'm rich? That's the stupidest thing. Everything is made to flow, right?
Oh, Ian, it's you know, you're living proof. At 65, man, you don't look 65, bro. You're looking awesome, and you've got that glow, you've got that exuberance about you, which is you know, testament to everything that you're doing is working. I would love to do this on a weekly basis. I really want to keep the call to roughly half an hour, because I know people are you know, they're time poor, but this is critically important information. Just in wrapping up, obviously we're going to provide the link how to order the iodine, but can you talk to us briefly a little bit about dosage or a protocol, or how would people take this? Is it like a one size fits all, or you're talking about doing like a shot? And what's your advice as far as dosage goes for the average person?
Well, if you take half an ounce a day for every 150 pounds of body weight, that's the dosage. We have these new 500 ml bottles now. We just finally got them out, and they're double the strength. So there's 8 times more iodine in the bottle than there was in the originals. We struggled so much to get packaging. The last few years was this nightmare on shipping supply chains, and we finally got that all sorted out. So now we can actually supply the most value for the best value on the dollar. So yeah, just half an ounce. That's a pretty good dose compared to RDA. It's like, I don't go by RDAs. By government rules, we have to say
gotcha.
RDA.
That's recommended daily allowance.
Yeah, recommended daily allowance. So you want to have at least 1,000 micrograms a day going into your system. And it's just like, that's more than 1,000 milligrams or micrograms, I mean, not milligrams.
And sorry, and you're shipping from Canada, yeah?
Yeah, well, we ship to Australia, and then we were able to ship within Australia. We don't ship individual to Australia. It's way too expensive. But we finally figured out how to get a good supply in Australia, so then people can have a very reasonable shipping cost. We're doing the same thing in Canada and the US, and we've also just now got shipments going into the UK. So UK was another.
I'm going to literally order as soon as we wrap up this call, because I drove up to Brisbane over the weekend, and the amount of towers that I saw was staggering, and I can feel it, because I live in northern New South Wales. It's pretty rural around here. My phone reception is quite weak. I have to do my Wi-Fi calls and so on. We don't have a lot of towers around here. Byron Bay is just to the south, where there's more towers down there. And then, but as soon as I head north and I get toward the Gold Coast, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I can feel it. I can feel the radiation on my skin, in my body, and there's a lot of, I guess, speculation that these frequencies are going to be cranked up. And there's also, I guess there's evidence to suggest that this whole COVID thing is a radiation exposure thing. There's a lot of people losing hair, and a lot of people's so-called COVID symptoms look a hell of a lot like radiation poisoning. Do you think there's some truth to that?
I do. I think it's all tied in. I think the technology is brutally awful. And if somebody took an injection, that's going to amp up the wrong kind of communication in the system. I think it's all designed around that. It's to be avoided as much as we can. So you need to take responsibility and protect yourself from the inside out. That's because you're a walking being. You can't wear shields and Faraday cages all day long.
No,
not feasible.
Not feasible.
Yeah.
Could try and make that. Could try and make some sort of little Faraday suit, make it kind of fashionable. Ian, look, fantastic to chat to you. I know you have a busy day as well, but this is some of the most important health information that I've seen probably since the last time we spoke. Actually, you're an absolute wealth of knowledge, and so grateful for you to share this with us and with the community. I'll provide a link below to everyone who's watched this, and any final messages wrapping up, just to everyone out there who's health conscious and understands what's at stake here.
Yeah, I think everybody is responsible to get their enthusiasm up, get your ambitions higher, talk to yourself very positively, talk good things about yourself, and you'll find ways of making sure you get fully protected, so you can continue providing value in this world you live in. Yeah, well said. Always a pleasure to talk to you, mate. And thank you from everyone over here in Australia for all the great work you're doing. And let's do it again in another week from now. Sounds great, Dave. Yeah, I appreciate your time. See you soon. Over now. Bye.